What's going on, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. Today's a big day here at S&E's Garage. We just made the final payment on our Mustang GT. It is paid off. We now own it. So we are going to treat it to a little tune-up. So these things come with platinum spark plugs from the factory, Motorcraft. I'm a Toyota Lexus guy. I use NGK on just about everything. So we're gonna go ahead and replace these with some NGK Iridium spark plugs. We went with the 6509s. Now, traditionally, you don't gap Iridium spark plugs. They're usually gapped to 44 thousandths, which is what most Toyotas, Hyundais, cars like that take. Now with this car, we're gonna need to gap these to 52 thousandths. So let's go ahead and get that done. Once we get them all gapped, I'm gonna show you how to gap them. We're gonna pop the hood here, and then we're going to rip right into it and start changing the plugs. All right, guys, so these Iridium spark plugs that we are installing in our Mustang here are factory gapped to 44 thousandths. We are going to need to gap them to 52 thousandths in order for them to be in spec for our Mustang. So what we have here is our feeler gauges. I stacked them. I think I did a point, basically a 25 thousandths, 22 thousandths, and then a 3 thousandths. Whatever I did, I forget exactly how I did it, but I got this to equal 52. Now, when you're gapping an Iridium plug, you do not want to touch this center electrode because you will wear off the Iridium plating, basically. So you're going to grab a small pair of pliers and you're going to grab the ground electrode and just very gently open that gap. You just want to do a little increments, and we're just going to see if we can get this to fit. So this is not yet. We need to go a hair more. Like I said, just do them in very small increments. And this is right on the money. You'll see there it fits, and there's no up and down play. So this one is gapped. So I am just going to, off camera, go ahead and repeat this process 8 more times. And then we will be all set to install these spark plugs in our Mustang. All right, guys, so let's go ahead, hop in our Mustang here. We're gonna go ahead and pop the hood right there. Let's get under here and see just what we need to do. So on either side of the engine, this is a V8, so you're gonna have 4 cylinders here and 4 cylinders here. There's going to be an ignition coil cover here that we're going to have to remove. So in order to do that, it looks like we're just gonna be able to pull straight up, like so. And we are going to have to remove this little breather hose here. Let me grab a flathead screwdriver really quick. There's a little release tab. Here's the one I'm looking for. On the bottom of the hose, right down here, that you just have to kind of push, and then this will lift right up. And now we can remove this ignition coil cover after we just slide some of these hoses out of the way here. Let's put that there so we don't lose it. Okay, we're gonna move that. I'm going to move this like so, and we're going to bring it back and out. And that is going to give us access to the 4 spark plugs here on the driver's side of the engine. Now, these are going to be held in with 8mm bolts, it looks like. So let's go ahead and grab an 8mm and my electric impact and zip them out. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead with our 8mm here and just zip these all out. We're gonna have to come in a little bit of an angle on this one, but it'll still come out. Same thing over here. And now we have this 4th one here. Okay, there goes my phone. Now right away, just by looking at this, I can tell you someone's been in here already. If you see these little red release clips here, 2 of them are actually broken. So there's one broken on this back cylinder here, and then there's one broken on the second one. So I'm not sure who's been in here for what. Somebody might have put plugs in this already, but we're going to, regardless, we're going to replace them. So we're just going to go ahead and unplug these ignition coils by releasing the red tabs on the ones that have them. And then you're going to push down on the center and lift the connector off of the coil. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get this coil out of the way. And then off camera, I will go ahead and remove the other 4 ignition coils. There we go. Let me go ahead, put you on a time lapse. We'll get these other ones off.
I see danger in us. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight.
Now, the way I took these off, I know which one goes where. Not that that's a huge idea, just that's the way I like to do it. I like to put them back from where I got them from. So now we're gonna come in here, we're gonna grab an extension. Let's try this guy here, and we're gonna grab a spark plug socket. Now this socket has a rubber isolator inside that is going to help me grip these spark plugs when I pull them out. That way they do not fall into the engine bay or anything of the sort. Let's get a longer socket on this. These cylinder heads are pretty deep. This will work. And we're just gonna go ahead and crack these loose and get them out. Now, what you're gonna wanna look for when you get these out is we're gonna wanna check for oil contamination on the outside of the spark plug and also on the electrode, because if there's oil on the electrode, you could have some internal engine problems. I am curious to see what kind of plugs are in this though. Oh, these are NGK iridiums. I wonder what the gap is set to. Are these LTR S1X-11? These are the spark plugs that I already have in the car, but that gap does not look right. These are supposed to be set to, where did I put my gap tool? To 0.52 millimeters or inches. Let's just do this. Here's 2.5 and here's 2.4, just for an example. Yeah, this gap's a little loose. All right, well, I'm glad we're doing it regardless, even though it looks like it's been done already. Let's go ahead and pull these other spark plugs out. Man, someone cranked these things. These things only need to go down to like 12 or 13 foot-pounds. All right, guys, so off camera, we went ahead and pulled the rest of the spark plugs from that driver's side bank. Somebody put anti-seize or oil or something on the threads of these spark plugs, and it actually got like sticky, like glue. I like putting spark plugs in dry, or if anything, maybe I'll give them a little spray of like silicone spray or something like that. This really, on an automotive application, isn't necessary. These aren't marine engines. They're not in salt water. I don't like doing this. So, but other than that, the spark plugs themselves look good. They're nice and gray. There's no black soot on here or anything of the sort. And we weren't doing these because we had any type of engine performance issues. We were just kind of doing them because I didn't know if they had been done or not. But with 60,000 miles, if they were original, they were due for replacement. But I'm assuming somebody did these before we bought it, because these don't come with NGK plugs. from the factory. So what we're gonna do now, like you saw, we already gapped these. We are going to install all of these by hand. Again, I'm putting them in dry. And then we're gonna torque them all down to 12 foot-pounds. And just for comparison, here is a new one versus an old one. Okay, let's again start these by hand. Now I will leave a link in the video description below for these spark plugs, and I will also leave a spark plug socket. If you buy from the links, it does actually really help us out, and we do appreciate it. And I'll also leave a relatively inexpensive torque wrench. You don't really have to, quote unquote, have to torque spark plugs down. You could just snug them, but just for the purpose of this video and teaching you the correct way to do it, we will go ahead and torque them down. We're gonna go to 12 foot-pounds, because that's all you need. 12 foot-pounds. What the hell am I doing here? There's 12. Okay, now I just have to get the one that needs the shorty right down in here. Okay, now we can put our coils back in, and we can go ahead and tackle the other bank. Again, putting these coils back in the same hole that I got them from. Here's number 4. All right, we're gonna grab our 8 mils here, and good and tight will do. Electric impact. That's it. All right. Get our coil cover here back into place. Like so. Okay, and then PCV hose and fuel hose. Now, what I did off camera here, or not off camera, in the time lapse, I undid this engine cover and shifted it over so I had a little bit better access over there. So now we're gonna do the same thing here and just move it over that way to give us better access here to these ignition coils. Now we're gonna do the same thing here with this hose. This way, and then wiggle it loose. Okay, I'm just going to set it aside. And now we're going to take our coil cover. Wheel cap's gonna come off. Okay, pull it out. Now I am gonna put this oil cap back on because I do not want anything falling down into the timing chain. But now we're gonna go ahead and pull these ignition coil covers out. Yeah, that one's gonna be a pain in the butt. All right, so we're gonna be using, again, our little pocket screwdriver here to go ahead and release these plastic locks. I actually find these super unnecessary on most cars. So if they do break, I don't really care much, but we're going to try not to, just for the sake of trying not to. That one broke. Okay, now we're going to push down until we hear it click and release. There we go. Okay, pull it up and out. Is this one going to cause me a problem here? There we go. Okay, up and out. Okay, now when I pull this, I want to make sure this little red tab that broke does not fall into the spark plug hole, because that would suck. There it is, down on the ground. Okay, there's number. So now that we went ahead, pulled our ignition coils on this side out, we basically just did the same process over there. We're going to go ahead and remove these 4 spark plugs as well. Okay, let's just move this cable out of the way here. See if we can get in there like that. I have a feeling that's all we're gonna have to do. Yep. Okay, you don't have to remove the battery, you just gotta move the cable out of the way. Good deal. Yeah, don't use any junk when you put your spark plugs in, because it's only going to cost you problems when you go to take them out. All right, guys, here is our second box of gapped NGK spark plugs. Let's go ahead and start threading them in. Again, we will be putting these in dry because you don't need to do anything else. Now, while we were in here, we did look down into the spark plug tubes and check for oil. There was no oil on the plugs or in the tubes, so that tells us that our tube seals are good. So we're in good shape there.
Sunrise, you know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up, babe. Sunrise, we're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
Okay, now that we went ahead and hand tightened our plugs, let's grab our torque wrench here, snug them down to 12 pounds of feet. Okay, there's that one. There's that one. There's that one. Okay, let's see if we can get our last one from here too. See how nice and easy this one's threading in because I didn't put a bunch of junk on it. All right. gonna go ahead, take our ignition coils. Again, we're gonna put them back in the same holes we got them from. And plug them in. Okay. Ignition coil cover. Remember, we got to pull that oil cap off. Slide this down and in. Okay. Oil cap back on. PCV hose back on. I'm going to line up our beauty cover, put it back on. Okay, we're going to grab that 8mm that we just had, that we don't remember where we put, but we will find in just a second. Here it is. We're going to put our battery terminals back on. Always put the positive back on first, then the negative. Okay, here's the negatory. Hey, she woke up. All right, let's go get the keys and fire her up. All right, we got the garage door cracked here. Let's hop in. Alright guys, I hope that helped you do a tune-up on your Coyote Mustang. This should work for any Coyote Mustang from 2011 and onward. And it should also work for any F150 with the 5-liter Coyote as well. They are a very similar architecture. Like I said, I'll leave everything we used in the video description below. The spark plugs, I'll leave the spark plug socket, things like that. So please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.